Hey guys, RedSkate76 here, back in again with another video. So today I made a 4x4 hipster door, and this is actually a collab with a kid named David Romano. He's a good friend of mine. We met on the server, and we're working on some projects together. But I decided to make this my 50 sub special because it's a pretty decent build, and yeah. So thank you for the 50 subs, it means a lot to me. I really hope you guys enjoy the rest of my videos coming up soon, and yeah, thank you. So first we should probably get started with the closing, because what else would you do? And so the closing is a little slow because I used a lot of minecarts and things around this build, and there's a lot of timers, so this whole door is extremely slow, but that's okay. So there's a timer here, there's a timer here, there's a really long timer there, two there, and another one over here. So the opening is extremely slow because of that. But yeah, I'll just let you guys watch the opening for a while, commentate on it. See, there's a kid over there. Yeah, so basically, there's a lot of circuit reuse of the yellow specifically, and I'll get into more detail at the end of the opening, but we have to wait for the timer, which is about to start right now. So this timer here has to finish before the door continues. There we go. Then this will just do the final third block retraction moves, and then fourth block retraction right here. Yeah. So that happens, and that's gonna push over. This will slide in, grab those pistons down. So in no way is this layout anything compared to the world's smallest or even speed in general. This was just to see if we could do anything really cool and stuff. So this is basically just a trial run. I mean, it's my first ever, so you know, it makes sense that it would be big. But yeah, so I'll try to explain this the best I can. So basically, I'm gonna remove the glass here so we can at least look over this. White stained glass with air. Oop. So basically how the closing works is there's a so this lever here pushes into a repeater, which is underneath here. In fact, I could probably go into spectator for this. So yeah, there's a repeater there, and that goes into this block, and this is the main power source. So there's two pistons. One is a rising edge monostable, one is a falling edge. The rising edge will power this hopper, which goes into a little circuit in here, which basically is right here. This will push these thingies over 3 times to get all the blocks in, and every time that moves, it also fires up these pistons here because the observer is pointing to those blocks, as you can see. So that'll push those up. But then the problem is there's still a gap in the top of the door because those pistons can only push these so far. So basically you push these observers out, push them up, and then pull them back again. And that's what you can see happens right here. You can see we get the 3 pulses, those push in, and then after a little bit there's a timer that goes that does the retraction. The reason we used the timer is because we couldn't get any delay in a small space, and this was basically the only space we had left. So yeah. Sorry for the lag spikes. Chunk borders. So basically after that, after those triple pulses, there is a small amount of delay that travels over to here and will basically push out this minecart in here. And this minecart is the big delay, so that will do the pulse to those pistons and then double pulse the circuit down here. to push the observers up, and then the minecart will hit the ground, trigger the string again, and do the retraction of those and the 2 pulses again, just because we just linked the circuits. And then the opening is actually really simple. Oh my god, freaking lag. So my computer decided to do a hardware scan or something. I don't know what's going on, but my hard drive is running at 100%, so sorry for the massive lag spikes. I'll try my best to cope with that. So this purple circuit here does the first 2 blocks of the retraction of these right here. So this basically sends out a pulse, and that pulse will retract these blocks down, push them over into here, move these pistons over, and put them up. And then it'll send another pulse with a timer in here. There's a little hopper like timer in there. It's kind of hard to see, but it's right there. And that'll pulse again, and it'll retract those blocks, push them in, and yeah, put the pistons right back here. So you can see that happening if I do this. The falling edge monostable triggers it. And then it pulls the pistons down if my computer didn't freeze midway. But yeah, as you can see, it goes up. And then the yellow circuit will fire, and I can get into explaining that later. But basically, the yellow circuit handles most of the retractions for blocks in these positions here. Because, I mean, that happens majority of the time. You get these blocks down to here, it's going to happen. You get them down to here, it's going to happen. Here, it's easy. But all of those blocks up here need to be handled with the same circuits over and over, so we just reused them. So this is again yellow circuit. You'll see in a second. Here goes yellow. You can see it just pulsed over there. And yeah, yellow is really slow because we used 2 minecart timers. And yeah, so you can see it'll do that. It's going to rerun the exact same circuit it just did again, and do the final block retraction just like that. And then last but not least, we just pull those down, slide this over, and then pop that up. And the reason those get pulled down instead of just staying is because we're doing another circuit reuse of this one right here that gets triggered by the purple. Because it's legit just the first block retraction again. And then we just pulse that up at the very end. So I'm going to try to get into more detail of how this works. So if that wasn't enough detail already, but if that was for you, then you can stop watching. It's up to you. So basically, when you flick this lever, this little blue circuit fires, does the 3 pulses, and then this system over here, it's very small, it's like this little spot, does the rest of the pulses for the final push-up, like this, which we already went over obviously, but you could see this minecart, once it hits the ground here, it's going to trigger this again, and then those just fire because of circuit reuse. So how this circuit over here works, when we flick this lever again, it basically first pushes this over, and that's because of circuit reuse, and it doesn't really matter on the first pulse anyways. And then it'll pulse this line here, which does a double extension. So it basically pulls this down to here, and then it'll pulse this twice to push it out and then pull it back in, and then it'll push this side over and then trigger the these thingies to push the piston up, because remember on the closing these trigger this line which pushes them up. So then what happens is we just rerun that circuit again, and the reason we can do that is because due to these observers here, if we fire this double extender, these observers will power the pistons in this position, causing them to retract the block down to here from up there. And then we could basically just do first block retraction again. Pretty simple. And then we swap out the pistons, put them in that spot, and basically the door will have these first 2 done with a tiny double pulse to this over a long delay. And then the 3rd block retraction we actually start using some other circuits instead of that, and that gets left alone for a very long time. So we move on to the yellow circuit. The yellow circuit basically handles the retraction from this position all the way down. And we use that, obviously, to get these ones down, and then again here, when we pull these down, it's again just the same handle of those. So the yellow circuit actually has a ROM, because the way the retraction goes, the yellow circuit does a pulse on this line as the initialization, and then it does a pulse on this line, a pulse on this line, and then it can either be 1 or 2, and it depends on the stage, and that's what this ROM is for. So a sword is 2 pulses, and a block is 1 pulse. Then we do blue twice, which that's handled by this minecart here. And what we also figured out is that since it's just blue and then it's red blue, we could use a minecart here. This will extend, send a pulse in, and it'll do the blue and then the red. And then when that minecart falls, it sends a pulse in, does the blue and the red again, and then the blue double pulse comes from this minecart here. So you can see that kind of happening here. And this ROM, it obviously holds if it needs to be a 1 or a 2 for the pulse of that line down there. And you guys are probably lost if you if you really don't understand doors, but or even if you do, I mean, this is pretty complex. So the freaking lag spikes are kind of annoying. It's the chunk borders, as you can see. There's quite a few here, and yeah, I can't really do much about that. So then once the block gets down to here, there's this little timer here, and the reason that's there is to re-trigger this system, but it also doubles as the timer for this circuit here, this little magenta one. So that's why it's a long wait. And then after that goes, we have another timer running for the last yellow circuit run, which it's doing right now. And then this timer will run out and trigger the magenta circuit, which is doing this. And magenta just pushes new pistons in over there to here. And then after that, we basically just run the yellow circuit again. And then some final moves, and then that comes up. So I would gladly do a tutorial on this if enough people like suggest it. So usually I'll do a tutorial if it's 1 person or 2, but this, it's going to require a few more people. So if you guys really want a tutorial, just reply on the first like tutorial please comment you see, and if we hit a certain amount of replies, I'll just decide. I'll probably make this tutorial, but don't expect it to launch like a week or so after the comment. No, I'm not gonna do that. I'll probably do it a month later, because you know, people gotta do what people gotta do. I'm not just gonna sit here and, you know, record videos all day. But yeah, so I hope that explanation kind of helped. I know it's still probably really confusing, but you know, it is what it is. You'll figure it out. But yeah, hope you guys liked the video, and see you in the next one, which I'll probably drop, you know, very soon. I have plans. You'll see.